study,
and play come together on a Windows 11 PC.
And for a limited time, college students get
The best of both worlds.
Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
Your LinkedIn feed can give you daily insights from your professional community. It cannot keep you updated on the daily office gossip.
Oh my gosh, no way.
It can help you stay informed on the latest news and trends in your industry. It cannot stop your boss from trying to start a new office trend. Who's ready for Flip-Flop Fridays? And while we can't stop all of the office jargon,
Does this vibe with our collaborative lattice work metric?
LinkedIn can start taking your career to new heights. LinkedIn is the network that works for you.
This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking. Maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to this edition of There Can Only Be One, the podcast that puts together the all-star best-of playlist of your favorite bands and artists. Hello to all of our listeners in Morendo, Ohio, and around the world. How the heck are you guys doing? All right. Are you ready to take a trip back to the 90s? Because I sure as hell am. Because we are covering the one, the only Everclear. And here to join me, making his debut on the show, Rob Cohen is here. Rob, how are you doing, man?
I am great. How are you today, Jason?
I am stoked. Because covering this band made me think of one of those compilation cassettes I got back in the 90s, which was my introduction to Everclear. And I mean, I don't know if you're like me, like in the 90s, you had all these like label produced compilations that were just introducing you to band after band after band. Spotify playlists weren't a thing. Downloading wasn't a thing. It was very much like you wanted to discover new music. You either spent your whole day watching MTV or Much Music in Canada, or you went out and you bought these compilations. So you're the one who pitched Everclear. How did you come across Everclear initially?
I came across Everclear the same way a lot of other people did. I saw the music video on MTV for Santa Monica. And I was curious about Everclear. I think I recall something in an Entertainment Weekly that said, if you like the Foo Fighters, Everclear is about as close as you'll get right now. And I like the Foo Fighters. This is only after the Foo Fighters' first album had come out. And I remember going up to Universal Studios City Walk, where they had this giant Virgin Megastore where you could listen to the CDs on the wall. And my brother and I have a twin brother. We do everything together for the most part. We went and listened to the Everclear, just the first few songs of Sparkle and Fade, and went, yep, this is it. And I got to tell you, Everclear has stayed consistent for the last 30 years now. I don't really listen much to Foo Fighters anymore.
It's true. Like by going through this discography, you do hear, I mean, yes, their sound has evolved a little bit because, of course, all bands do evolve in sound. But I feel like what you get on the first couple of albums, you're getting that same energy, at least. If not necessarily the same tonality or at least instrumentation, you're getting the same energy from those later albums. And this is why we always say on this show, we do have these moments where we'll listen to a band a lot and then maybe we pull away from it a little bit. Don't give up on that band, because guaranteed that band might still be putting out music. Now, admittedly, Everclear has not put out an album since 2015, but I was actually reading that Art Alexakis had said that he's actually considering making new music. So as we record this show in the year of our podcast 2026, just know that that album has not come out yet. So, of course, anything that comes out afterwards, just tack it on to the list. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to cover 10 albums from the Everclear discography. As always, we're not covering any best ofs or live recordings. We're also not going to be recovering the A Different Light or Return to Santa Monica albums, because those are just re-recordings of those albums. I know they were on Cleopatra Records at the time, and that would happen. They'd sign a band, they have them re-record those songs, and then Cleopatra had the rights to those recordings. We're also not covering the Nervous and Weird EP, because that 6-song EP had songs that, for the most part, kind of ended up on other ones. Same thing with the White Trash Hell EP, which was basically a collection of demo recordings. One we're going to let slip through the cracks, however, is the Vegas Years, because that is a collection of B-sides and covers. And because we want to talk about those, we're going to add that one into the list. Hey, my show, my rules. I get to put whatever we want on there. All right. But we're going to start with World of Noise, released December 10th, 1993. The band at this point is Art Alexakis, Craig Montoya, Scott Cuthbert, and Carl Brummer. The album hit number 172 in Australia. So, Rob, I'm going to let you kick us off here. Off of this album, what's your pick, and what did you think of it?
Yeah, so I only got this album, obviously, after I had already become a fan of Sparkle and Fade. So it was, hey, let's see what else this band has done. And it's real raw. It's real gritty. It has some weird feedback stuff on it, which they've certainly polished up as time has gone by. I narrowed it down to two. On the short list was Invisible, which I feel it really is emblematic of the title of the album. It is really a world of noise. That song seems to be encompassing really every instrument they've ever picked up, and they put it all together so well and so loud. But the song that I chose is the one that I think has the most singability to it, and that's the last song called Everclear.
Good pick. The funny thing is, I knew Sparkle and Fade, of course, and I knew so much for the Afterglow. I didn't know that this album existed until like getting into the discography for this episode. So it kind of reminds me a bit of like first discovering Live, right? Mm-hmm. Most people probably jumped in around Throwing Copper, which of course, not their first album. You got to go back to Mental Jewelry for that one. Right. Yeah. And of course, I think they were known as Public Affection before that. So yeah, there's more Live before Throwing Copper. Here, World of Noise, you're right. It's a very raw sounding record. It's almost punk-ish in its in its output and its tone. I did have a decent shortlist though. Like I had Nervous and Weird, Loser Makes Good, Invisible, and Detroit, which was one of the bonus tracks off of the re-release. But I ended up going with one that there was a demo of it on the White Trash Hell. It's Your Genius Hand. It's an interesting mix because as I'm listening to it, and as always, I try to find comparables where I can at least associate with something. I found this is actually a weird mix of like Nirvana and U2 at the same time. Now, I never thought I'd be able to say, oh yeah, U2 and Nirvana, if they ever compiled a song together, why not? They feel like two opposite ends of the spectrum unless you go back to the earlier U2 catalog. Your Genius Hand does feel very much inspired by that earlier U2 kind of vibe.
Yeah, I agree with you. I actually had written down here that this album it's punk rock, but it really shows its 1990s grunge. Mm-hmm. It feels grungy. I think it was recorded up in Portland, so it's kind of like a suburb of Seattle or something like that. But Your Genius Hands is a great opening to the album because it gets you into it. It's also very sing-alongable, and it's one of the better songs on the album as well. It's interesting. I'm surprised you didn't choose either Evergleam or Invisible because I know you like the bass lines, and they both have really good bass lines that start off. And Invisible actually, I think it's Invisible that kind of keeps it really, really heavy throughout the rest of the song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, Invisible was definitely on the short list for sure. I think the thing with Your Genius Hand is that it's the thing for Everclear for me, aside from lyrics, because of course Art Alexakis is a phenomenal lyricist, is that they're a band that's all about the bounce, not necessarily a mosh pit vibe kind of thing, but what I like to call the pogo pit, right? Mm-hmm. Where you go to like a really heavy metal show and you're going to get like the mosh pit, the ones where you come out and your shirt is ripped for sure. You probably have a few extra bruises and you feel really good about it. The pogo pit is one where people just bounce. And if you were to look at it from the stage, it's like just a sea of people. Everclear feels like that pogo pit energy, and Your Genius Hand kind of fits into that vibe for me.
That's a great point. Yeah. And having been in that pit for probably 20 or 30 times with Everclear, I'm familiar with it. And yes, that's what it's like.
Sparkle and Fade, released May 23rd, 1995. We have a member change at this point. Scott Cuthbert and Carl Brummer are out. Now Greg Eklund is on drums and the band is now a three-piece. The album hit number 9 in Australia and number 25 on the Billboard 200. It's platinum in the US, Canada, and Australia. There were 4 singles off of this one. You mentioned it already. Santa Monica charted the highest, hitting number 1 on the US mainstream rock charts. And how much of a bop is Santa Monica?
It, you know what? Every time he plays it, everybody just has to sing along as loud as they can. It still hits. It's the one song that, when it comes on in the car, my kids sing along to it. We blast it up loud. They just love it.
Yeah.
And I got teenagers, at this point, they don't want to listen to anything dad listens to.
See, that's where I've lucked out. My youngest actually does listen to the music I listen to in the car, which is why they're familiar with, Slipknot and Anthrax. Slightly different from Everclear, but they could get a bop to this. I've played Santa Monica live. It's a ton of fun. The crowd's always, they hear it, they recognize it. This was my intro to Everclear. This was on the Triple Scoop 3 compilation. It was just one of those compilations that everything is thrown against the wall. And there's so much different genred music on this one cassette. And yeah, I said cassette. But yet, this is the song on all of that music that stood out from everything. It's my pick, absolutely, for sure, off of this. I did have Heroin Girl, Summerland, Heart Spark, Dollar Sign, and The Twist Inside on my short. So basically, I had the album on my short list.
Yeah.
But did you go with Santa Monica?
You know what? I struggled with this. This is in the top 5 of my favorite albums of all time. I know there's debates about this one, or So Much for the Afterglow is the better Everclear album. This one's my favorite of all time. And my favorite song of theirs is The Twist Inside. I just love the message, but I also love the last 2 minutes of it. Sometimes if I'm short on time, I'll speed through to the last 2 minutes and just listen to the instrumental part of it at the end. It just gets me really excited. And I just really love it. I put You Make Me Feel Like a Whore as one of the short lists as well. I just like the anger to it. It feels like he's taking control of himself and being open about how his feelings are being affected by this other person. And then Summerland, because when this came out, I was 19 years old. I just really liked the idea that they could say the F word in a song and it wasn't in real anger. But my friend, the song I picked is Santa Monica. It just is. And I was sitting here getting ready for this thinking, do I want to just pick all deep dives? Nobody really is going to care about that. But I don't want to be the homer who's only picking the popular ones. But Santa Monica is just a classic, legendary song at this point. It really can't be beat.
Yeah, for lack of a better term, sometimes you have to dance with the girl that brought you. And Santa Monica is that girl.
The road to the NBA Finals ends here, with star guard setting the tone. The Cavs eye another upset, while the Knicks carry the dreams of all of New York. The Eastern Conference Finals continue on ESPN and ABC.
Tomorrow morning is knocking. Stock your fridge now. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or a sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. The Four Seasons is back for season 2, starring Tina Fey, Will Forte, Coleman Domingo, Marco Calvani, Carrie Kenny Silver, and Erica Henningsen. After a difficult year, your favorite group of friends continues their tradition of vacationing together, now with a baby in tow. From the Jersey Shore to upstate New York and Italy, their getaways are sure to take unexpected turns where comedy ensues. Watch The Four Seasons May 28th, only on Netflix.
So Much for the Afterglow, released October 7th, 1997. Rami Jaffe of the Foo Fighters actually appears on this album on Vox Organ. The album hit number 5 in New Zealand, number 33 on the Billboard 200. It is double platinum in the US and Canada and gold in Australia. There were 5 singles off of this one. Everything to Everyone hit number 1 on the US alternative charts and the Canadian alt-rock charts, and I Will Buy You a New Life hit number 1 on the Canadian alt-rock charts. And at the 41st Grammys, El Distorto del Melodica was nominated for Best Rock Instrumental Performance, but lost to the Pat Metheny Group for The Roots of Coincidence, their one and only Grammy nomination. But holy crap, did I freaking love that track, though.
Yeah, it's a banger. My wife doesn't like it. I don't know why. She just, anytime that one comes up on the playlist, she's just turn it. I don't know why. I really like it. I like the drums. I like the beat. I like the rhythm of it. I like the screams of it. So yeah, I'm not sure why she doesn't like it.
Yeah, it's a really tasty guitar tone on that one. I was not expecting that song when I went through this, but also the production quality on this album is such a step up from World of Noise and Sparkle and Fade. So clearly Santa Monica proved that Everclear have the chops and the songs to make it big. You hear that production in this album, but listening to this in comparison to Sparkle and Fade and World of Noise, is there a risk of going too production heavy when you've built something on a bit more of a rawer sound?
I don't think so, because the fans responded to it. And I think that they ended up picking up new fans as a result, because it wasn't as raw. And, you know, that even though this was the early days of what would eventually become pop punk, Everclear was still punk. And to bring in so many new fans because they polished, because they focused on the melodies, they focused on the writing, I think it was a class move. And you've mentioned it before on the show. You have your whole life to do your first album. You usually have a shorter amount of time to do their second. Not counting World of Noise, between Sparkle and Fade and Afterglow, to put two classics back to back is kind of unheard of.
Yeah, no, it's, again, looking at live as a comparable, of course, Mental Jewelry comes out, then, Throwing Copper comes out, and it's everywhere. And then, of course, they follow that up with Secret Samadhi, which I love the Secret Samadhi album. It's just different than Throwing Copper. This, though, still feels like it's Everclear, just with a little bit more sweetness in the mix. But off of this disc, what did you go with?
So first off, around the time this came out and I Will Buy You a New Life was at its most popular, I was dating a girl who lived in West Hills, and she hated Everclear because they put Buy You a House in the West Hills. So anyways, that relationship didn't last. The first time I saw Everclear was in November of 97. So a month after Afterglow had come out. They were the headliner, the opening bands. You're going to love this. Letters to Cleo and Our Lady Peace.
Oh my goodness. That is such a freaking bill.
It was incredible. And of course, I'm now 21 years old. I'm right up in the front, right up on the rails. And when Everclear started out, the place goes dark, and all you hear is the melody of the beginning of So Much for the Afterglow, just the oohs and ahs or whatever it is. And then the lights go on and they just jam right into So Much for the Afterglow. That's my pick. So Much for the Afterglow. The other ones I had Amphetamine. I think Sunflowers is an incredibly sweet song. They don't play it often enough live, but I really think it's a sweet, sweet song. And I like if you have to pick one, I like the hidden track, Hating You for Christmas. We play that on Christmas around our house. But So Much for the Afterglow is my pick.
Nice. I had Ataraxia, Father of Mine, El Distorto de Melodica, and Everything to Everyone. I think the biggest thing, though, is that the biggest singles off of this kind of sat in the same groove, if you will, like that same strumming pattern. But Amphetamine has such a banger energy to this. Like, this is the song for me off this disc where it combines like the raw power from Sparkle and Fade, like the raw energy, but yet also adds in the production value from Afterglow. Never knew about this song. First time hearing it, because I will admit, as excited as I was to go down this discography, I've never bought an Everclear album. I had only listened to the singles only. I'll admit, I was that radio bitch for Everclear that basically was whatever the radio fed me. And I am so happy that you mentioned this, that I got to discover some of these songs I'd never heard of before. So Amphetamine, for me, off this one, blew my mind.
Great track. And my wife's name is Amy, so it helps that there's a connection to it.
But she doesn't like the instrumental. So we'll try not to hold that against her.
I don't know. I don't know.
Songs from an American Movie Volume 1, Learning How to Smile. Released July 11, 2000. Hit number 3 in Canada and number 9 on the Billboard 200. And it's platinum on both sides of the border. 3 singles off of this one. Wonderful. Charted the highest, hitting number 1 on the Canadian alt-rock charts and number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100. And I didn't even realize just how big Everclear was in Canada. But yet it kind of makes sense because I remember hearing them on the radio the whole time and watching the videos on Much Music. But I know they were big in the States. Are you surprised at how big they were up here?
I had no idea. I don't know. I'm down here in Los Angeles. Everything. LA is the center of the music world as far as I'm concerned. If they were playing it on K-Rock, then it must have been massive. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I figured it had to go around someplace.
It is surprising sometimes when you see how some bands make, like the fact that you mentioned that Our Lady Peace was on that Everclear bill, like great band from up here. There are sometimes I'm surprised at how different countries take to different bands from around the world. We covered an act on this show before, Harem Scarum, great Canadian band, not necessarily big in their home country. They're huge in Japan. Oh, so you never know where an album or where a songwriting style is going to hit. But I tell you, up here, we appreciate them just as much. Off of this disc, though, what'd you go with?
This one was tough. This is not my favorite album just because it is a departure from the previous albums. It's a lot more, I don't want to say melodic. The tone is certainly pushed down a little bit. There's a lot more maybe heartfelt stuff in there. And I think it was Art playing around with some different ideas and different themes and trying to create more ballads and more melodic stuff, even more melodic than was before. So I narrowed it down to 2. Wonderful is up there. It's a classic song. There's a video I've seen of a woman, they all these YouTube influencers, whatever they do, they videotape themselves watching things so you can see their reaction. And this woman, African-American woman, maybe in her 20s, is videotaping herself watching the video for Wonderful. And she's bawling her eyes out because of the story of it. And I think that's something that Art does really, really well, is tell a story. Mm-hmm. But for this album, I have to pick a song that tells a story. And then let me tell you a story about the song. My wife and I got married in August of 2002. I'm sorry, 2002. Jeez. A few months before that, Art did a solo tour where it was just he and acoustic guitar, and he played a lot of small venues. And he played this venue in Los Angeles. It was maybe 300 or 400 people. And after the show, he came down off the stage and he was signing autographs and he was taking pictures. And knowing that my wife and I were getting married in August, I took out my ticket stub. This was back when we had ticket stubs. And I wrote my name and my phone number on the back of the ticket stub. And as the line moved up to say hello to him, we got to the front and I said, my wife and I are getting married. Would you play our wedding? We want you to play Learning How to Smile. And he said no.
Oh.
What's he going to say?
You got to shoot your shot, though.
I had to.
I mean, I don't blame you for taking the chance. I probably would have done the exact same thing, but absolutely fantastic story. I had, this was a weird combination of songs, right? Because you had some that were really, really soulful and quiet and deep, like Truth Store Chair and Otis Redding. I'm just like, oh, wow, these have got some hurt to them. Like there's some visual storytelling in the lyric. And then you get like AM Radio and Unemployed Boyfriend, which are fun and they're boppy, but it's such a jumble back and forth going to this album. I was the basic bitch. I went with Wonderful off of this one. It's such a good song. Art Alexakis, obviously painting visual pictures with his lyrics is what he does best. But before we get to the next album, I'm going to ask this because, in past episodes, we have run into situations where a band would release 2 albums kind of back to back in the same year. The first one that comes to mind is Stone Sour, where they released House of Golden Bones Volume 1 and Volume 2 in the same year. And it's like, that's great, but this feels like one really solid album as opposed to two. Same thing with Smashing Pumpkins' Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. If you had taken all the songs off of that, whittled it down, and made one album out of that double cassette, yeah, I said cassette, I'm old, live with it, you may have had the greatest 90s album of all time if it's just the good songs. So do you feel, before we get to volume 2 of this, do you feel like had you taken the best of volume 1 and volume 2, made it into one album, that this would have been the best Everclear album?
I don't know if it would have been the best, but I've actually heard interviews with Art where he said that that's what he had wanted to do, but because they needed, it may have been, record deal, whatever it was, they put it in 2 albums. He thinks it's, from what I've heard, he thinks it's one really good album, but that there may be some filler to it in order to create the 2 albums out of it.
Well, we do get Songs from an American Movie Volume 2, Good Time for a Bad Attitude. Released November 21st of 2000, hit number 45 in Canada, number 66 on the Billboard 200, and is gold in Canada. 3 singles off of this one, When It All Goes Wrong Again, hit number 10 on the U.S. mainstream rock charts. Now, I didn't mind this album, not as strong as Volume 1. Your thoughts on this one?
Man, I've heard that so often. I like this album better.
Oh,
I
okay.
really do. I do. I think it's got, if I want something that's going to bring me down and kind of mellow me out, Volume 1. If I want something that's going to pick me up and really get my energies flowing because the music is so great, I like this one. And I know I'm in the minority.
That's almost like listening to the first 2 albums from Seven Mary 3. The American Standard is going to get you up, but then you listen to Rock Crown, it's going to be like, oh, I'm going to need a bourbon and a cigarette real quick here. But what's your pick off of this disc?
So I narrowed it down to 3. The first one was Rockstar. I think that's the most, it's just the most fun on the album. It has the same, by the way, the same beat as My Hero from Foo Fighters, to the point where the Foo Fighters song was in, I think, Varsity Blues. And then when they did the parody of that, they used, for the football scene, they used Rockstar's the music because it matched up so well. So I like that Art really had a lot of fun, it seemed, with writing that one. When I am really upset and angry, I'll roll down the windows, roll open the sunroof, and I'll turn up All Effed Up. So I think the music on that is just really heavy and loud. But my pick is When It All Goes Wrong Again. And I did not know that was even a charting song. I know that this album is really kind of looked down upon by a lot of Everclear fans compared to Volume 1. I didn't even know they had any releases off this album. It wasn't on my radio. I was just listening to it from my CD. So When It All Goes Wrong Again.
I think that's part of the problem with releasing 2 albums in what would basically be the same album cycle, is that the first album is going to get all the attention because, of course, it's been a couple of years. Hey, Everclear's back. It's all good. Let's play all the singles. And wait, you have another album coming out already? Okay, so I guess we're still in this album cycle. Today, now you have bands that are putting it like a single every month or 2. And yeah, that kind of keeps them in the conversation. And I think that's probably why I think a lot of artists do that now, where they'll release singles for 5-6 months in a row, and then be like, oh yeah, and here's 4 other songs, and now it's an album. And I kind of get that because it keeps you on the road, because that's where the bands are making their money these days, because unfortunately people aren't going out and buying the albums like they used to. I love that you mentioned the Varsity Blues soundtrack, because that is such a stacked lineup. Like Green Day, Foo Fighters, Collective Soul, Third Eye Blind, Van Halen, like Monster Magnet. It is huge. Also, I have to point that out because the last track on that soundtrack is one of my low-key favorite bands from the late 90s, Caroline Spine.
Wow.
Really good freaking band that I wish they had more albums so we kind of talk about them on here. But yeah, no, I had When It All Goes Wrong Again and Rockstar on my short list. But in listening to this, every now and then there's an effect that bands can do where they put almost like a phaser on the microphone, and it kind of sounds like an AM radio kind of vibe. So when Slide hit, I was like,
yeah.
okay, I can see what they're doing here. And again, there are times when you're listening to a band and you're like, okay, I know what I want to hear out of this band because this is what I like when they do this, right? I'm not one of those guys who goes to Metallica for a ballad. I'm sorry, I'm not. I want hard hitting thrash metal. I like songs like Low Man's Lyric and Nothing Else Matters, but it's not what I turn to Metallica for. For Everclear, I turn to them for the energy, even though they do have some good slower songs. Slide kind of fits into that for me.
That's a fantastic song. I'm glad you didn't go with Baby Talk though. It's a little too silly for me, but Slide is a great song. And I was listening to it on my way back here. I've listened to a few on this album, but that one is a really, really good song. Good pick. One of the reasons why I was so excited about meeting with you and going through this is because I know these songs, right? I've lived with them for 30 years and whatever. And and I know what I like.
Mm-hmm.
But the opportunity to hear what somebody else likes, and that's also one of the reasons why I've enjoyed your show so much is, I've yelled at the radio that you're wrong. And many times have I said, oh, wow, that's a really good pick that I either hadn't thought about or need to listen to again. So this is really, really exciting.
That is half the fun of this show. And basically, when I built the show, of course, there's another podcast out there called My Weekly Mixtape, hosted by Brian Colburn. He's been on the show a couple of times. His podcast is very much the same boat, where I have found myself looking at my car stereo and going, Brian, pick the song. Brian, pick the song. Brian, you didn't pick the song. But that's the fun part, because people do listen to music differently. But the other thing, too, is that when someone brings up something about a song, sometimes it makes you rethink what you originally thought of the track. And, there's something to be said about hearing someone else's point of view and why that song spoke to them in a certain way, that you can sit there and go, oh, okay, I see that now. And then you're going to go back and you listen to it again. It's like, okay, this song has a deeper understanding now because I see what someone else found good about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great way to put it.
Slow Motion Daydream, released March 11, 2003, hit number 33 on the Billboard 200. 2 singles off of this one, with one of my favorite song titles of all time, Volvo Driving Soccer Mom, hit number 30 on the U.S. alternative charts. I freaking love this album.
Yeah.
It is so good. I knew Volvo Driving Soccer Mom because, of course, a band puts out a song called Volvo Driving Soccer Mom. Of course, I'm going to listen to it, but I was not aware of the depth of good songs on this disc.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I think it's one of the hidden ones that people don't really think of. They don't play very much off this album at all. And if they do, it's Volvo Driving Soccer Mom, and they rarely play that, it seems. I don't know why. It's got some beautiful stuff on it. I think it's got some really diverse stuff, some hard stuff like Blackjack and the opening track, How to Win Friends. But then it really does get melodic and slow and ballady, but in a way that's kind of beautiful about it. Some of the songs really stand out as being that way and pretty heartfelt.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, it's sometimes the lesser known albums or the lesser played albums, the albums that don't get the love live. I think back to Sponge, of course.
Yeah.
They're going to play songs off Rotting Pinata. They're going to play songs off Wax Ecstatic. I love New Pop Sunday so much as an album.
Oh man, Live Here Without You is their best song. Now you are going to probably disagree, but that's on that album. I love that album. It's great.
The first 4 songs off that disc are like 4 of my favorite Sponge songs of all time. I actually got to meet them. I went down to Louisville, Kentucky, and it was them and the Nixons playing together. And I was talking to the bassist from Sponge, and I was saying how much the songs from New Pop Sunday just don't get the love. And it was a really good conversation. Plus his bass tone was freaking fantastic. I couldn't get over it. The guys from Sponge were absolutely fantastic to talk to. But off of Slow Motion Daydream, what have you got?
I can't ignore Volvo Driving Soccer Mom. It's just fun. It's raunchy. Definitely not PG-13. It's not one I really play a lot around my kids. And I think that's fine. I think it's fine. I think it's fun. I really like the New York Times. I know it's directly in relation to 9/11. It's not even trying to hide that it's about 9/11, but I just really like the uplifting part of it. And it's him kind of his heart breaking and thinking there's got to be something better. The hidden track is really good, but the one I went with, I may be the only person who likes this song. I just love this song so much. And every time it's on, even though it's slow, I turn it up as loud as it can go. I just really love A Beautiful Life. I just think it perfectly encapsulates the journey that Art has gone through with his addiction and the death and all the strife he's gone through. And he's coming to the point where he says, look, I'm not asking for very much. This is what I want. I want a beautiful life. And I really, really like this song so much.
It is a really, really good song. It's funny because you mentioned the way that is, and the first song that comes to mind when you talk about the lyrics and the message behind it is a song called "It's a Good Life" by the Northern Pikes, band from up here. And it's funny that they both kind of live in the same kind of world and roughly around the same time. Not on my short list though. I will say that. I did have Blackjack, Volvo Driving Soccer Mom, and New York Times. I fully, wholeheartedly agree with you with New York Times. There's two songs I kind of associate with, memories of 9/11, stuff like that. This one and Overcome, that was released by Live around that time.
Oh, okay.
I remember seeing that one live. Live was opening for Jane's Addiction. Caught them here in Toronto, and they came out and did more of an acoustic set. And this was only like a month. This is like October 2001. So they were really kind of still reflecting. And I think everyone was still kind of processing them at that time. And then, of course, Jane's Addiction comes out and it's like a freaking circus. I'm just like, I don't know if I want to stick around for this. I think that's the only time I ever left that early into a headliner's show, because Live, A, stole the show, but B, set a tone that Jane's Addiction wasn't going to meet at all.
Oh, interesting. There was a great lineup I saw once. It was Sponge opening for Filter, opening for Live, with Everclear as the headliner. Now, the only downside was that Live was not with Ed Kowalczyk. This was the interim period where it had the other singer. What an amazing show.
I will give that singer all the props. I caught that lineup live in Rock on the Range in Columbus, and fantastic album that they put out with him. Amazing album. All right. But my pick, though, is I Want to Die a Beautiful Death. And I was really, this was a fight between this and Blackjack, but this is the one, because the chord changes are fantastic. The energy is good. There's just something about this head bop that kind of wins. And again, kind of what I'm hoping for out of an Everclear song. They delivered in spades on this one.
Absolutely. A great pick. Great pick.
Welcome to the Drama Club, released September 12th, 2006, their first album no longer with Capitol Records. We also have a couple of member changes here. Greg Eklund and Scott Montoya are out. So now it's just Art Alexakis with Dave French on guitar, Sam Hudson on bass, Josh Crawley on keys, and Brett Snyder on drums. The album hit number 11 on the indie album charts and number 169 on the Billboard 200. There's two singles off of this one. Hater hit number 181 in Australia and is their last single to chart. I want to hear your thoughts on this disc.
Oh, please go first. It's your show. It's up to you.
No, I'll be very honest. I found this album a hard listen, and it can't be easy, right? When you spend so much time writing and performing with one band behind you, and then you change everybody out, and it's a brand new band, and it feels like they were trying to find their feet on this disc. I mean, there's still some good songs on here. I went with Hater because it kind of stood out. I had Now and Taste of Hell on the short list, but it didn't have the energy or the vibe or the completeness of previous albums. This to me was probably the hardest listen of the whole discography.
So I prepared and I have notes. And under this one, I wrote the album I had the hardest time getting into.
Okay, so I'm not alone. We're good.
No. And so It came out September 2006. My daughter was born December 2005. I probably wasn't doing a whole lot of listening to music. I was probably still listening to Crying and whatever it was. So I got the CD when it came out, and it was, part of my collection, and I did listen to it, but I don't think I paid as much attention to it. And frankly, part of it is I lost it with the keyboard. It's just not, I didn't feel it. It didn't feel right. And, it's not, who am I? I'm nobody. I just couldn't get into the keyboards of it. I did narrow it down to Under the Western Stars, which is the opening track, I think. I like it because it's melodic. I'm not a big fan of the keys, and I think it's a little bit too long, but I think it has enough of a cool vibe to it to keep me going. But I chose Hater. I chose Hater as well. I like the message of it. I like when he gets angry. I like when he calls people out, and I like the music of it. So that's the one I picked.
Yeah, I can see what you're talking about on the keys there. Like the work that Remy Jaffe had done previously for them, it really kind of fit well. The organ does match well with what Art Alexakis usually writes. This one, I think every band is allowed one. I don't want to say it's a bad album. It's not a bad album, but I would say a less than album in comparison to the rest of the discography.
Agreed. And that's fine. He wants to try something new and play around with stuff and play around with songs and different influences. That's great.
The Vegas Years, released April 15th, 2008. So this is a collection of cover songs that they had recorded and released during their years with Capitol Records. Holy crap, this was this was such a I mean, maybe I'm coming at this from a different standpoint because of course I'm in a cover band. I do play a lot of different songs. I kind of get out there a lot. Like I love when bands do cover albums, and I don't look at it as a cash grab. I don't look at it as a cop out. I look at it as a band that is kind of putting their loves, their inspirations right out on Front Street. Now, did I make a couple jokes here and there while listening to this going, oh, if you've played Brown Eyed Girl, you might be entitled to compensation because, every cover band has played Brown Eyed Girl. But, I mean, there are some deeper cuts in this collection of cover songs that I'm just like, holy, I didn't even know this song existed. And why is it so good? And why am I bopping?
Yeah. I didn't listen to this when it came out. I didn't. I knew, looking at the song list, I knew 2 songs other than the silly ones. Mm-hmm. I mean, The Land of the Lost, The Speed Racer, sure. Brown Eyed Girl, everybody knows that. But other than that, I really only knew Our Lips Are Sealed and the Boys Are Back in Town, because none of these songs are my, lack of a better word, like my generation. Because I was born in 1976. You want to do a covers album that's going to hit me, you're going to do 80s. These were 70s, mid 70s, maybe even earlier or later. I wasn't paying attention to much music. So I really did not listen to this song too much. I ultimately did start listening. Rich Girl, I'm like, oh, that, I don't know who that is. And then I find out it's, Hall & Oates, and that's great. But any of these other songs like Pocahontas and Kicks and Night Train to Memphis, I couldn't tell you who sang them, and I can't tell you who sang them today. But I did listen for today, for us. And I was really impressed, actually. I'm impressed I knew more of the songs than I thought I did. And I didn't pick, even though I wanted to, I didn't pick the Jenny, which I just like it because it's pulled from a live track. And it does give a really good feeling of, if you were around going to Everclear shows at the time, that's what it was like. It was a lot of fun. It was that kind of a vibe. But yeah, I struggled with this album, man. I did.
So what did you eventually pick with?
So I narrowed it down to 2. Southern Girls, which I learned within the last couple of weeks is a Cheap Trick song, which I think it's, I like it kind of better than the Cheap Trick song. I think it's a little harder. Cheap Trick song seems to be a little bit more sedate. But you're going to hate me. I'm not a big Tom Petty fan, but there's one song of his that I tend to really like, and it's American Girl. And I really like the Everclear version of it as well. Whereas Tom Petty has such a beautiful kind of smooth voice. Arts is raspy and gravelly, and it's just a different take on the same song, and I kind of dig it.
Yeah, no, American Girl is a really, really good song. I wasn't grooving on their cover of it, mind you. I was surprised at how well Our Lips Are Sealed really kind of fit Art Alexakis's voice. Like they nailed it. I also had Bad Connection on my short list, the Yazoo track. I mean, yeah, Speed Racer is fun and all that. The live track is really good, but there's a song in here, and I'm listening to it. I'm like, I don't know this song. I don't know, but it's fun. It felt like a song that Everclear would have written, though. So it's originally done by Paul Revere and the Raiders. It's called Kicks.
Yeah.
This is such a freaking bop. It was to the point where I listened to it and I had rehearsals the next day, and I'm like, we should do this song. It's like, because it's a bit of a deep dive, I'll admit. And maybe it's because I don't know the original that I didn't have anything to compare it to, right? Brown Eyed Girl, everyone does Brown Eyed Girl, right? Every band and their sub bands have done Brown Eyed Girl. American Girl, it's another commonly played on the cover band circuit kind of song. Yeah, I had the Saturday Morning Cartoons album. I freaking love that cassette. It was all good. But sometimes it's the songs that I'm not familiar with off these cover versions where I'm like, I don't have to have the comparison in order to be able to judge it against, so I can sit there and have it with fresh Everclear ears. Maybe that's why I like Kicks so much, because it is so fresh.
That's great. It's not my favorite. That's great.
No, totally cool.
You may think you know McDonald's drinks, but you don't know them like this. From fruity refreshers like the Strawberry Watermelon Refresher and the Mango Pineapple Refresher with popping boba, to crafted sodas like the Sprite Berry Blast with berry-flavored Sprite topped with cold foam. Who knew ice-cold drinks could be so fire? 6 all-new drinks are here. Try them all, now at McDonald's. Refreshers contain caffeine.
People are full of surprises, especially when you travel together. Thankfully, Vrbo is not. When you book a Vrbo, you get Vrbo Care and 24/7 live support, so your house doesn't surprise you like your friends might. If something's not as described or doesn't work, Vrbo's there. Real people, real support, anytime. Book today on the Vrbo app. If you know, you Vrbo. Terms apply. See vrbo.com/trust for details.
This spring, Uber Eats has you covered. Whether you're celebrating mom, dad, or your favorite grad, not all of us are great planners, and with the Uber Eats gift hub, you don't have to be. Send flowers, perfume, champagne, or just their favorite meal straight to their door. Gifts arrive in as little as 25 minutes, and you can add a personalized video message for that additional so-not-last-minute touch. So this spring, get a leg up on gift giving with Uber Eats. Last-minute gifts that land every time. Must be 21 or older to purchase alcohol. Product availability varies per region. See app for details.
Invisible Stars, released June 26, 2012. We have yet another member change. Freddie Herrera now on bass and Sean Winchester on drums. The album hit number 5 in New Zealand, number 21 on the US indie album charts, and number 119 on the Billboard 200. One single off of this one, Be Careful What You Ask For, and as we mentioned earlier, did not chart. Feels like they're hitting their stride here now. Now that we've had some time, it's been like 6 years previous to the release of Welcome to the Drama Club. Invisible Stars feels like a much more complete album.
One of the great things about getting ready for this show with you is I've pretty much just been Everclear for the last couple weeks. And as much as I've listened to these songs over the last however many years, to be able to listen to them in basically a concentrated setting has really kind of given me a new perspective on just the real talent there is, the musicality and the songwriting. This album is really pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm.
It's not top to bottom perfect, but it's got some really, really good songwriting on it. It also has some really, really good music on it. And I've got a new appreciation. This one I struggled with the most, I think, in picking picking the songs.
Yeah, no, it's there's a lot of different influences, and it's got the energy. It has like that sparkle and fade energy that was missing from Drama Club. Like it's very much sometimes when a band steps away from recording whatnot and writing new material, when they come back, it's like, oh yeah, that's why we liked them so much. Candlebox did the same thing, right? Like they put out like 3 albums and then they stepped away for a bit. Kevin Martin did a bunch of solo things, stuff like that. And then when they came back with Into the Sun, and like the 3 or 4 album stretch right after that was some of the best material Candlebox had ever written. And I say that knowing that their self-titled debut album is legendary.
Yeah.
Invisible Stars is back to where Everclear was, I think, before the member changes. But your pick off this disc.
I narrowed it down. Falling in a Good Way, I think, is a lot of fun. It's a really good story song. Jackie Robinson, a really good story song. I had to play that for my daughter when it came out. My daughter's name is Brooklyn. So Jackie Robinson, there's obviously a close Dodger connection there. But I like the story of it, which in 2026, I think has even more resonance as reflective of a very interesting and groundbreaking time that we may not be coming back to in a while. Santa Ana Wind is anthemic to me. I just really like how it builds the music, how it really does feel like an anthem. And as a native from Los Angeles, there's like the in jokes that he puts in there about, sunshine and Mexican food on Christmas Day. Yeah, we've all done that. Can't explain this place. If you're not from here, you won't understand. Yeah, that's true. But my pick was I Am Better Without You. And that's for one line in the song that's kind of even a backhanded line. There's a little backhanded lyric. It's my cat doesn't like you. She thinks I'm better without you. I just love that. My cat doesn't like you. And then the next line after that is your boyfriend says I'm awesome. He says I'm better without you. I just really like the way that song plays out and the songwriting on it.
That's the thing. Like Everclear, they're known for their bops. It's all good. But Art Alexakis, like I look at some of his lyrics and I occasionally compare him to lyricists like Greg Graffin from Bad Religion, or if you're Canadian, Ron Hawkins from Lowest of the Low. Like there are certain songwriters out there that just have a way with a turn of phrase that kind of stands apart from the music, no matter how boppy the music is. And and it can be hard, like when you're deep diving 10 albums in a row or something like that, and you're trying to, you're listening to a lot of music. We do it for the love. It's all good. But, sometimes it's those little turns of phrase that just separate a song from the rest of the pack. I love that pick. I had Be Careful What You Ask For in Santa Ana on my short list, but I ended up going with Falling in a Good Way, mainly because I freaking love the punk energy on this. Now, I know you mentioned the keyboards on Drama Club not being really kind of what you were looking for, but the keys on this song almost felt like a very Cars influence. And it doesn't surprise me that the Cars would have influenced Art Alexakis's songwriting. It feels like a natural fit.
Yeah, I agree. The last song on the album, Promenade, I think that starts with and has some keys in it, and it feels like it really works well. So yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good.
Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, it's all right.
We end our journey with Black is the New Black, released April 24th, 2015. Hit number 9 in New Zealand, number 11 on the US indie album charts, and number 15 on the US alternative charts. 2 singles off this one, The Man Who Broke His Own Heart and American Monster. Now, I'll admit, because I listen to these albums in chronological order because I'm that extra, this was, of course, the last album I listened to. I was not expecting the crunch and the aggression and like the dirt in the songwriting on this. This is a toothier album, if that's a word, but I'll take it. A toothier album than we hear in the past. Like, we didn't have a member change, but yet it feels like an angrier band.
Yes, it's very dark. And I seem to recall that like the album cover itself is dark.
Yeah.
And I think that may have been what they were going for. There was a tone to it. There's a lot of, I don't want to say negativity, but there's a lot of kind of underbelly that's here trying to come out. I don't know where he gets his ideas from. I mean, I don't know how much of this is autobiographical. I don't know how much of it is inspired by wherever inspiration comes from. But yeah, it's got some darkness to it, which I dig. I really like it.
I think this is the album that surprised me the most. Like this, I mean, yes, Afterglow's a good album, I fully admit. I think this is the one I liked most from front to back. I don't know what that says about me, but still, it's am I okay? But no, off of this disc, what did you go with?
So I narrowed it down to 3. Anything is better than this. And then the final 2, I really struggled going back and forth on. So I narrowed it down to American Monster and This Is Your Death Song. And they are 2 completely different tones. You know, American Monster really has this evil feeling to it, whereas I don't know how many people can make being angry and suicidal sound as fun as art does. Like in This Is Your Death Song, it just, and I know it's not about him, it's about friendship. But again, sometimes you want to turn the music down and just let yourself bathe in the words. And sometimes you just want to throw the windows open and blast it as loud as you can. And that's why I picked This Is Your Death Song.
I was really considering that one. It's on my short list, but only because one song beat it out. Like I also had The Man Who Broke His Own Heart, Anything Is Better Than This, and Pretty Bomb on my short list. But right off the bat, like a flag planted in the ground, Sugar Noise just sets the tone for this. Like this is the gnarliest guitar riff that Everclear has ever recorded. That's 10 albums. And we get the gnarliest riff here. And the staggered drum sound, like this is 32 years after their first album release. And they put out arguably their hardest song of their entire career. That says something about the songwriting capabilities, but that you can, after 32 years, just open your eyes, open your ears and go, holy crap. There are bands that are out there not putting out that kind of energy. And here we are like 32 years, 10 albums into the journey. Yeah, we can do this. I was surprised by this. I was pleasantly surprised by this.
Yeah, one thing that I think has separated Art from a lot of other artists is he controls everything, every aspect of it. The writing, the arrangements, the sound editing, the mixing, the producing, he does it all. So he has an idea of what he wants it to be, and he's not going to let anybody tell him to do it different. And, if he wants to play around with new ideas or play around with new instruments or play around with new whatever it may be, he's going to do it. And most of the time it's really freaking badass.
Yeah. Like that is a great longevity of a career. I do hope that they put out more music like they've been talking about. So, down the road, if we get another album, we'll have to come back and revisit that one.
Deal. I'll be there in the proverbial line at the proverbial record store the day it comes out to get it.
Wait, they still have record stores?
No.
No. Which is sad. I miss those days of being in the record store, going flip through the CD racks, like you were talking about earlier, putting the headphones on, giving the CD a test spin. I miss those days.
Yes, they were good days. Yes.
All right, but now comes the hard part. So Rob.
Nope.
Yep. Oh yeah. You knew what you signed up for here. All right. So please remind our listeners what your picks are, and then from those 10 songs, if there can only be one Everclear song, what's it going to be?
All right. From World of Noise, I picked Evergleam. From Sparkle and Fade, I picked Santa Monica. From So Much for the Afterglow, I picked So Much for the Afterglow. Songs from an American Movie Part 1, I picked Learning How to Smile. Songs from an American Movie Part 2, I put When It All Goes Wrong Again. Slow Motion Daydream, I picked A Beautiful Life. Welcome to the Drama Club, I picked Hater. The Vegas Years, I picked American Girl. Invisible Stars, I picked I Am Better Without You. And Black is the New Black, I picked This Is Your Death Song. And I narrowed it down to 2. And I know that's all we do is we narrow down. So I narrowed it down to Santa Monica and Learning How to Smile. And they are similar songs as far as the eagerness about the songwriting, the optimism for the future. And they just have just killer hooks and great singability. Man, this is really tough. Because my heart is telling me one thing, but my mind is telling me something else. My heart is saying it's got to be Learning How to Smile. But if there is one song that I have to play to anybody to introduce them to Everclear, who's never heard of Everclear before, I gotta play Santa Monica, man. That's the one.
It's hard not to pick that song. Like, really, like sometimes a band can be instantly identified by the one song. You say Everclear, oh yeah, Santa Monica, right? That's usually the way it's going to go. Some bands are like that. You mentioned the band name, that's the first song that comes to mind. Although I could see why Learning How to Smile would definitely be. I love that story. Freaking love that story. All right.
So now that you've said, yeah, I see how you could do Santa Monica. I get it. Now you're gonna just do something different. You're gonna,
I'm totally gonna do something different here. All right. From World of Noise, I went with Your Genius Hand. From Sparkle and Fade, I did choose Santa Monica off that one. So Much for the Afterglow, I went with Amphetamine. From Songs from an American Movie Part 1, Learning How to Smile, I went with Wonderful. From Songs from an American Movie Part 2, Good Time for a Bad Attitude, I went with Slide. From Slow Motion Daydream, I went with I Want to Die a Beautiful Death. From Welcome to the Drama Club, I went with Hater. From the Vegas Years, I went with Kicks. Off of Invisible Stars, I went with Falling in a Good Way. And off of Black is the New Black, I went with Sugar Noise. Now, yes, Santa Monica is in the mix on this, as is Wonderful. But I'm sorry, I like a gnarly guitar tone. I'm actually going to go with Sugar Noise as my only one pick. This was the first time I heard that song, and I guarantee you I'm going to be hearing it again and again and again. Although that being said, I wouldn't mind covering their version of Kicks in a live set. It's a bop.
I am stunned, and not in a bad way. This is why I love your show. You get to hear what everybody else is, or I get to hear what you and your guests think of these songs and what you pull out of them and what, resonates with you. That's incredible. This is, it would not have been mine. And that's great. That's great.
Right now, there are people looking at their radios going, "You're wrong. You're wrong."
Very possible.
Oh, man. Rob, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for this. You are welcome back anytime. But before we go, please let our listeners know where they can find you out there on the interwebs.
Yeah. Thanks. I'd love to be back if you'd have me. I love the music. I love your show. We have seemingly a lot of bands in common. I think I went down their list of the bands you've covered. I think I've seen more than 20 of them live. I mean, I'm a huge music and rock. And so, yeah, that's great to be able to be here with you. I'm a lawyer. I don't have anything to do with music. I have no musical ability. I sit in an office all day and daydream looking out the window. I do really sad stuff. I do post-death work. So when people pass away, that's when they call me. So that's not really what I like talking about. I like talking about music and sports and books and all that kind of stuff. I'm on Threads and on Instagram. The handle's the same, Rob Cohen 13, ROBCOHEN 13. So if anybody wants to, check me out, that's fine too. I don't post much, but I do gaze at everybody else's stuff. And it's just been great being on with you, man.
Now, if I have played Brown Eyed Girl more than 10 times live, am I entitled to compensation?
Yeah, something like that, probably.
Oh, I'm so going to cash out on this one. Rob, thank you so much for this. And to you, our dear listeners, you guys know the drill. If there's an artist that you want to cover on There Can Only Be One, or an album that you want us to cover on Spin, Shuffle, Skip, hit us up on social media at Only One Cast or go to our website, notthatbadcast.com. And by the way, our movie podcast, It's Not That Bad, in August celebrates 5 years of existence. So you want to tune in the beginning of August as we bring you our Grading on a Curve 5-year anniversary special. And I do not look forward to the movies we will watch for your pleasure. Until next time, he's Rob, I'm Jay. You guys are awesome. This is There Can Only Be One. a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Take care.
"300 Favorite Albums" with James Campion.
I don't think there's an album I know better front to back. I learned how to play guitar to a lot of these songs.
If I could pick one record to hand someone and say this is what it feels like to be a woman, it would be this record.
You know, the engineer that was recording the album for us was a novice engineer. He was really the janitor.
The first half of these sessions for the album were totally improvisatory in the sense that they went into the studio and just dealt with whatever happened.
There was space that was left for these listeners to kind of discover it for themselves. That they would say, yeah, my parents listened to it, but I had to build my own relationship to it.
Happiness, good living, peace, love, rock and roll. I just feel like this album is such a wonderful translation of that concept.
People understood they were in a world historical moment, and it felt like it was going to last forever. In fact, the infinite spaces that they explored in The Giant Now is part of what made that explosion so huge.